Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar, Setting Up Glass Recycling Programs for Communities. This is Heather Creven, Deputy Director of the Nebraska Recycling Council. The Nebraska Recycling Council is a statewide, member-based, nonprofit organization supporting communities, businesses, solid waste, and recycling industries to improve recycling collection and infrastructure. Our mission is to maximize the economic and environmental benefits of resource recovery in Nebraska and waste nothing. At NRC, we have a lot of events coming up that I want to make everyone aware of. February 12th is the free webinar for Municipal Measurement Program, which is a free program from Emerge Knowledge that provides municipalities with access to powerful analytic reports designed to measure waste diversion and performance to improve programs. On March 11th and 12th, we will be hosting a workshop in Omaha and one in Grand Island, partnering with the Solid Marketing Association of North America about social and behavior change for recycling and other environmental topics. These are an interactive 4-hour training, including lunch, and will provide an overview of the social marketing process, along with various tools, strategies, and case studies. There is a $25 charge, and registration is limited to 35 participants at each location. Participants will learn some inexpensive research techniques and create an outline of a marketing plan for a topic of their choosing. I would encourage you, if you are in the Grand Island or Omaha, Nebraska area, to attend, and you can find more information on all of these events at our website at www.nrcne.org. NRC administers the small equipment grants for the Nebraska Environmental Trust and has also received funding from the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality. For more information, please visit our website at www.nrcne.org. In the webinar today, you will hear from Lauren Henry, who has been with Ripple Glass since November of 2017. She was brought on to be the Regional Program Manager, taking over responsibility for all glass recycling programs outside of the Kansas City metro area in 9 different states. Lauren's prior experience is 7 years as a neighborhood services specialist with the City of Jefferson, Missouri, managing the CDBG Grants and environmental programs to improve the livability and sustainability of her hometown. Lauren will discuss how to begin a glass recycling program with Ripple Glass and how the glass industry is doing despite the changes in recycling. During the webinar, please type your questions in the chat box as they come to mind. They will be answered at the end of the presentation. A recording of this presentation will be available following the webinar on our website under the Resources tab at www.nrcne.org. Thank you again for attending, and with that, I will turn the presentation over to Lauren, and there will be a slight delay before she begins.
Hi, Heather, and thank you for the introduction, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We just wanted to come on here and talk to everybody a little bit about how you can create glass recycling for your communities, the market outlook for glass, our history, what we do, and how we can help everybody out there to create great sustainable programs for you and your communities. Let's see here. We'll start off with 93%. It's not surprising that 93% of residents and consumers expect to be able to recycle their glass. This is a quote from Jim Nordmeyer. He's the Vice President of Sustainability for Owens, Illinois, in the GRC leadership. It emphasizes that glass is a core recyclable. Glass recycling concerns among public sector residents have declined from 65% in 2017 to 54% in 2018. 79% of respondents that work within the glass industry indicated that they're concerned about the prospects for glass recycling in the future. The glass recycling rates in the United States have been fairly stagnant for the last 10+ years, but with a little bit of over 30% of glass containers being recycled. Beer bottles are recycled at the highest rate. They are most likely the type of container to be included in container deposit laws or bottle bills. We currently have 10 states that have container deposit laws, where you get a nickel or dime back for each of the container that is returned. It's also interesting to note that it's common in European nations to exceed 80% in glass recycling rates. And the reason for this is that they have entirely different systems set up than we do here in the United States. Most European countries have some combination of container deposit laws and recycling mandates that get them very high returns. It's very unusual to see glass allowed in mixed recycling over there or any type of single stream. They are sure to separate it out. So that's just a brief update of the recycling rates right now and the industry. Our history is Ripple Glass was founded by Boulevard Brewing in 2009. Some of our original owners worked for Boulevard, and they noticed that there was no glass recycling available in Kansas City. And with Boulevard creating millions of bottles every year that were just going to the landfill, they wanted to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So they began to look into a way to recycle glass in Kansas City and not send all of these bottles to the landfill. So because of that, Ripple Glass was founded. They built a $5 million processing facility and set out over 65 bins to collect glass throughout the Kansas City area. They partnered with liquor stores, grocery stores, municipal recycling centers to place bins that were convenient. It's like the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And they sure did. Customers lined up, placed containers, and people showed up for glass recycling. Our founders and presidents didn't know if this would work, but it did. There are now over 100 drop-off sites in Kansas City, and the recycling rates have increased just to over 20% in 5 years, which is great. We also have been able to expand outside the Kansas City area. We work in 9 different states with about 110 different communities, businesses, and those that are just interested in recycling. So why even recycle your glass? Is glass worth recycling? Research points to yes. Glass recycling saves raw materials. 1 ton typically equals 1 ton. More than 1 ton of natural resources are conserved for every ton of glass recycled. It lessens the demand for energy. Energy costs drop about 2 to 3% for every 10% of coal that's used. It creates jobs. There are no recycling byproducts. Glass recycling is a closed loop system. We create no additional waste or byproducts in our process. And for every 6 tons of recycled container glass used, a ton of carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas, is reduced. A 10% increase in cullet reduces particles by 8%, nitrogen oxide by 4%, and sulfur oxides by 10%. There has been a need for glass recycling for quite a long time, and the issue with glass has been that it's very heavy and it's expensive to ship long distances. So what do you do? We build bottling plants and glass cleaning plants. Let's see. Bottling plants weren't something that could be built in KC. It was prohibitive and way too expensive. Cleaning the bottles weren't an option either. So finding an end user like Owens Corning, we created the cullet that is furnace ready for their fiberglass. And so we have an end user that's located only about 5 miles from our plant. So we have a very convenient end user that's very close, and it makes it extremely economical for us to be able to sell our glass to them. There are many different uses for recycled glass. The primary users for recycled glass are container glass, making new bottles and jars, and fiberglass manufacturers. They like to use recycled glass in their manufacturing mix because it allows them to lower their melting temperature from 2,800 degrees to 2,600 degrees, which prolongs furnace life and saves energy costs. Most of the benefits we've discussed happen when the glass is remelted, when it's reused in a furnace. But there are ample other uses for recycled glass. It can be crushed and sized for use in sandblasting or abrasive materials. Glass can also be used as an aggregate for roads or other hard surfaces, as well as reflective beads. From what we know, cleanliness is very important in these applications, even though beer bottle labels can cause issues and keep the glass from being useful in these applications. And finally, glass can be used as a daily cover in our landfill if it's approved by the state it's being used in. This really isn't recycling, but it certainly is considered a reuse. This is just another overview of our end market users. We often hear people say that they don't have end users for glass in the area, and that's just simply not true. There are a wealth of end users to the west, including more fiberglass insulation and manufacturers in Kansas, 3 container glass manufacturers in Oklahoma, and then 2 to the east in the St. Louis area. The processors in our immediate area for Ripple are Kansas City, and then an SMI station in St. Louis that feeds into other plants. Into Lubbock in Oklahoma is another glass recycler. Our main partner, again, is Owens Corning. They continue to ship in recycled glass via rail from the coast, and we've spoken with most of the other end users over time. We most would like to use more recycled glass in their process, but find it hard to source. In the U.S., we also suffer from decreased recovery through our primary recycling system, which is single stream. Single stream is no doubt the most convenient option for residents and the most efficient option for haulers, but it does cause contamination and has an impact on recovery, particularly for glass. When it's compacted in trucks and tipped onto the MRF floor, glass breaks. Once it's braked, it's very, very difficult to sort it out without removing other small pieces of plastic and paper with it. We always say that if someone could invent a glass magnet, it'd be just fine to include glass in single stream. But since that doesn't exist, we see 60% of the glass that's put in curbside bins nationwide ultimately end up in the landfill or downcycled. In contrast, we can recover 95+% of the glass that is received through our glass-only drop-off programs. Here's just another slide that talks about the benefits of recycling glass and how glass can be recycled over and over again without losing any type of quality. Even small amounts of recycled glass make a big difference. And 1 bottle recycled is equivalent, or 714 recycled bottles equals enough fiberglass insulation to fill an entire attic space. And that's just unbelievable how much 1 glass bottle can do. Here's an example of clean glass versus MRF glass. We were just talking about MRF glass not too long ago, just a few slides ago, and how about 60% of it gets recycled or downcycled, and you can see there why of how contaminated it is on the picture on the right. If you've got a news alert on recycling, you've probably seen that several large metro areas have dropped glass from their curbside programs over the past few years, and everybody always says, nobody wants my glass. And so when we start programs with other communities or around Kansas City, it's always important for us to ask, what kind of glass is it? If it's clean glass collected through a container deposit program or a source separated program, there likely is a market that can take it, and that market is paying pretty stable prices. We at Ripple do not see hardly any fluctuation in the value of glass. It is a low value, but it's stable, which allows you to plan a program around that value without worrying about a lot of fluctuation. If it's MRF glass that was collected and processed along other materials, it really just depends. There are processors that have the equipment to clean up this glass. However, the value of it is dependent on how much of it is contaminated with non-glass items and how large the pieces are on average. The value can be positive, but it's more likely to be negative depending on the condition of the glass. The industry is finally recognizing the difference these material grades, and ISRI now has specifications for each. Remember that these are relatively low value materials or negative value if the glass is contaminated. But since glass markets are local, you can expect to see them prices stay fairly stable. So this is how our regional hub works. we started hearing from communities outside of Kansas City that said they needed a place to send their glass, and we had the room in our plant to process that extra glass. What we had to think about was, how do we ship glass in a cost-effective way? How are we able to get the glass to us from somebody else so that it's not costing them a lot of money, it's not costing us a lot of money, and it's not creating any negative impact on the environment either. So things that we had to think about were also freight expenses, how communities could use gaylords if they couldn't use roll-offs. Roll-off dumpsters typically hold about 4 to 5 tons of glass, and it's not efficient for us to set containers that only hold about that tons and go pick them up and come get them back. So we decided to start shipping in large dump trailers on the back of semis. The first communities to do that were Springfield and Omaha. So now over half the glass that we recycle comes from communities outside of the Kansas City areas. Again, we have about 110 communities in a total of 9 different states. So setting up a glass recycling program for your community, there is no one size fits all for this program. We require no minimum tonnage. We can also work with cities. We'll help you figure out equipment, budget, staff, what you need to do. A basic program for us is, like, let's take Omaha, for example. They have containers that they set out at different grocery stores and other places, and those containers are dumped by a local dumping company. They're bunkered at a local recycling center, and then River City Recycling, and then we work with River City to send an end dump truck up there whenever they have at least 24 to 25 tons of glass. They fill the end dump trailer for us, and then it's shipped back to Kansas City. That's just one example of how we work with other communities. There are other cities that do it differently. They own all of their containers, and they own their bunker, and they own all of the equipment that's used to load glass recycling from the bunkers to the trucks. So everybody just does it a little bit different. We also have some industries that will store their container glass in gaylords or IBC totes, and they will use a rotating forklift to dump these into an end dump trailer that we send upon their request. So they empty out their IBCs into these trailers. A lot of it depends on your storage, your budget, your staff, what works best for you, and that's what we're here for also, is to let everybody know that, there's not a one size, this is not a cookie cutter program for everybody. There's really no such thing as apples to apples, and we are more than willing to work with anybody to figure out what works best for your community and for your program. So these are the types of glass we accept. We accept all types of food and beverage container glass. We don't require any sorting, and we don't require any type of color separation. We're able to let labels and caps remain on, and even corks and wine bottles are okay. A lot of those can get sorted out in our processing facility. We can take glassware such as wine or pint glasses. We can take milk containers, the glass milk containers. We can also take plate glass windows like shower doors, except all the framings, casing, and spacers need to be removed. And we cannot accept like windshield or laminate glass. We can also take, we cannot take windshields because there's a plastic laminate film that keeps the windshield from breaking, and it keeps it from breaking down. So that's shown a problem in our processes. Ceramic, porcelain, and milk glasses, they break down at a different temperature and they cause issues with our end users. So we definitely avoid getting those as the contaminant in any of our recyclables. Bags and boxes, any non-glass items, we're not able to take those either. Some of them can be sorted out at our facility, but we really encourage users of our programs to try to take your bags and boxes back home with you, or use some sort of a reusable tote system or bags when you're recycling your glass. So where do you start when you're trying to figure out how to collect glass from residents and businesses? Again, a typical drop-off center is the most common with no sorting necessary. A consolidation of 25 tons of glass on bunkers or in gaylords. We recommend storage locations where people can bring glass from drop-off centers or businesses to store. The bunkers are typically, you can see in the top right-hand corner, they're typically made with concrete and concrete blocks to help keep the glass from spreading around. And if you have to build one, a typical recommendation for a bunker would be 20 feet wide by 24 feet deep and 8 feet tall for a total volume about 4,000 cubic feet. This will typically store one semi-truck load of glass. We discussed Omaha and how they empty their drop-off boxes with River City, and River City sends our trucks. Excuse me. Ripple arranges for trucks with dump ends to pick up glass in most of the different communities. The trucks can hold anywhere from 20 to 25 tons of glass, which keeps it affordable for us because we do pay for the transportation from typically almost all of our communities that we work with. Municipalities do need a front loader available or some type of rotator forklift that allows them to collect in the gaylords. This helps to hoist boxes up and rotates them into the trailer for them to dump. We've typically found that bobcats are too small for any type of glass recycling processes to get it up over the sides of the trailers. So a glass recycling process, our most popular is the drop-off points. We would recommend about one container for every 20,000 residents. This will allow for bins to not be filled up quite a bit. If you have a town of 100,000 and they have one bin to put all of your glass in, you'll be seeing a lot of dumping of that container. You might even see some broken glass on the ground. You'll see more problems when you have less containers than what you need. So we really recommend one container per 20,000 residents if you're able to do so. They have better performance. There's less legal dumping if they're in heavily traveled areas. Liquor store and grocery stores work great. We found that people really like the convenience of containers that are at liquor or grocery stores or places that they're already going to frequent. If you're going to go to the grocery store, why not take your recycling too? We've found also that it can help increase liquor or grocery store sales because it gives people a better reason to go to that certain store. In Kansas City, we've also had several businesses pop up that provide a concierge service for residents or bars and restaurants to pick up their glass. We even have our own bar and restaurant program in Kansas City right now. It has Pearson Charbonnet as our manager for that program, and he just hit 131 bar and restaurant accounts today. So good job, Pearson. And how he does that is we offer about 96-gallon carts to the bars and restaurants, and they've gotten their staff to separate bottles from aluminum cans, and they put them out, and we do a 1-week pickup. So that's been really successful in Kansas City to start getting more commercial businesses on board. We do charge a fee for it, but they see a decrease in their trash costs, and a lot of them are extremely sustainability minded, so that also helps in helping them to glass. Businesses can be tough though because there is a turnover in the staff and sometimes contamination is high, but we've found ways to work with them. It has taken about a year for them to get their contamination down, but we've gotten them to be able to be really great and be great glass recycling partners. And just some tips for sustainable recycling programs. The biggest key to sustainable programs is keeping it local. Work with your local end users to design a system that'll produce the quality of glass they can use. That's what we've done with Owens Corning. Figure out the value of the glass to them and then work backwards to figure out if it's something that can be affordable. It's always helpful to minimize transportation and the amount of times the material is touched. most of the cost for Ripple and for those that collect glass is in the transportation of it. Glass is heavy and, again, not particularly valuable, so it's smart to consider landfill and tipping fee avoidance when you're evaluating your system and what may work best for you and your community. And finally, just make it fun. The wide majority of glass used for high-quality food products and alcoholic beverages. Consumers associate glass with good times, so keep that in mind when you're encouraging recycling of that glass. We just wanted to give a couple examples of some communities that we do currently work with. Pictured here is Fayetteville, Arkansas. Prior to working with Ripple, they were required to color sort, but we know they no longer have that requirement working with us. They have over 50 businesses that participate in a bar and restaurant program that they manage. Their carts are picked up on Mondays and Wednesdays, and they offer it for free to their bars and restaurants. I recently talked to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they just got approval to expand their bar and restaurant program outside of its small downtown area to be able to offer it to all the businesses in the city. So they're really excited about that. And then other local businesses, they provide a 20-yard roll-off, and it's picked up free of charge. Another great partner that we have is Branson, Missouri. They're a hub for their region. Taney County provides a consolidation point for the loading and the drop-off of the bins, and the city of Branson is the one that hosts one of the purple bins there, and they take charge of collecting the glass. And then today there are 10 throughout the region down there, and they recover 59.4% of the glass that's generated each year. They were our 2015 Program of the Year winners. They committed to expanding their collection sites for their residents. They were really, really great at education and awareness. They ran frequent radio and news interviews. They did exceptionally well promoting it on social media and focusing on their busy summer tourism season. They also did one-on-one connections with community recyclers through meeting them at bins, offering giveaways and contests, doing table displays at grocery stores, and displaying info cards at grocery store checkouts. And as the winner of our Program of the Year, they received a semi-truck load of Owens Corning insulation at a $10,000 retail value, and it was used for energy conservation projects in their community. So again, recycling glass can be easy and effective. It's great to get residents and businesses involved, and every community's program are unique in their own way, and everybody is not the same. And if you have any questions on what would be the best way to start up a program in your community, that is what we're here for. So I really appreciate everybody coming on today. And if there are any questions, I believe that Heather will be giving those out.
Yeah, so Lauren, if someone wants to start a program in their community with you, who do they contact to get started?
They would contact me. Yeah, they would contact me here at Ripple. My email address is Lauren, Lauren, at Ripple, RIPPLE, glass.com. We also have our sister company, Momentum Recycling, out in Denver, Colorado. So if you're on the west side of Nebraska, sometimes it's more cost effective to work with Momentum out there with Brandy. Brandy's great. She's extremely helpful, and she's very excited to expand glass recycling also. So if you are on the closer to the west side and closer to Brandy, that's something that we'll tell you, and we'll get you hooked up with Brandy so that anybody's able to recycle so that they're able to.
I have another question. Do you have any glass recycle or glass collection hub in central Nebraska, Grand Island, Hastings, Kearney, or Columbus?
We don't really have a hub out there, but if anybody is willing to open up their bunker to let others dump their glass there, that's always relationships that we encourage and would love to help start or help coordinate if anybody wants that to be an option.
And I have another question. If bunkers are located outside, are they covered with something to prevent contamination?
They do not need to be covered. We actually don't mind that glass getting some weather on it. It helps to break down the labels, and then it makes them easier to come off of our machines. Our machines do take labels off, but the more weathered they are, actually the better, because it really helps us in the long run.
So my next question is, how has the Fayetteville operation structured itself to enable them to provide collection for free?
I'm not sure on the details that they do that. I would have to reach out to Brian down there and see get some more information from him on what they're doing for it. So I'm gonna I can follow up with that one.
And then is there a chance that you would be willing to share your slideshow so that it could be shared with others in their municipality?
Sure, absolutely. Just if you'd like a copy of it, just let me know.
Another question is, the bin shown is decorated pertaining to local interest. Is that possible for all communities? I know South Sioux City, Iowa has a few bins not decorated, and South Sioux is interested in incorporating an art project, maybe an additional draw.
Sure. We also have our Go Purple program that I didn't discuss, where we can help paint. We offer up to $1,500 to help paint bins purple, and we offer ripple stickers and also no signs for no bags and no boxes. This is our art bin that's done in Kansas City. And if you have recycling in your community, you are more than welcome to design those bins that best fit your community. If you want to put something local on them, that's great. We want to encourage you to make your program your own, definitely. We do try to get people to stick with the purple. The purple helps bins to stand out so that people know that, okay, this bin is for glass only. You can't put anything else in here. And it does help to keep the contamination down also if bins are different.
And what is the energy cost of the transportation and the furnaces?
I do not know the answer to that one, but I can get a follow-up for that one.
And what would the time frame look like from the first call of interest to begin recycling glass with Ripple to accepting the glass look like?
Oh, a timeline? It typically depends on how quickly you're able to set up. If you need to pour a concrete pad, if you need to buy bunkers. I visited like the City of Jefferson in Missouri in September, October, and they just shipped us our first load about 2 weeks ago. So it was about 5 months. It can take anywhere from, and I think they have a population of about 40,000. So from starting to talk to them setting their bins and sending us our first 20-ton load of glass was about 5 months. So it can take anywhere from short amount of time to a year and a half. It really just depends.
And does Ripple have any program that helps offset those costs for the communities of setting up a bunker?
We do have our $1,500 Go Purple program that can be used for different things if you don't need help in painting bunkers. Many states also have grants available through their solid waste districts or other entities like that are able to help them set up glass recycling. We also are available for grant writing assistance if that's something that you would need help with.
Well, that's great. Lauren, I would like to thank you for your time today. That is all the questions that I have at this time. So I will go ahead and end the webinar. I thank everyone who has attended. And Lauren, again, I thank you for your time and your presentation.
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.